6 days before his death, Kyle Busch stood in victory lane at Dover Motor Speedway holding another trophy in his hands. The cameras were focused on him, the crowd was roaring, and after years of dominating NASCAR, it looked like just another victory added to his legendary career. Then a reporter asked him a simple question. Why do these moments never get old? Kyle smiled for a second before answering. Because you never know when the last one is. At the time, it sounded like the words of a veteran driver appreciating another victory late in his career. Nobody standing there that night could have imagined how haunting those words would become only days later. 6 days later, on Thursday, May 21, 2026, the entire world of motorsports woke up to shocking news. Kyle Busch, one of the greatest, most successful, and most controversial drivers NASCAR had ever seen, was gone at just 41 years old. The news spread across social media like wildfire. Fans refused to believe it. Drivers were left speechless. NASCAR itself suddenly felt different. For over 2 decades, Kyle Busch had been one of the defining faces of stock car racing. Whether fans loved him or hated him, nobody could deny his greatness. And now, suddenly, the sport had lost one of its biggest stars forever. The first signs that something was wrong came early that morning through a statement posted on Kyle Busch's official X account. The message was short, carefully written, and immediately alarming. Kyle has experienced a severe illness resulting in hospitalization. He is currently undergoing treatment and will not compete in any scheduled activities this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We ask for understanding and privacy as our family navigates this situation. That was all. No details were provided about the illness. There was no timeline, no explanation, and no official comment from NASCAR beyond confirming that Austin Hill would replace Busch in the number 8 Chevrolet for the Coca-Cola 600. Fans instantly knew the situation was serious. Families rarely use words like severe illness in public statements unless the circumstances are extremely dangerous. Throughout the day, concern spread across the NASCAR community. Rumors flooded social media as fans desperately waited for more information. Then only hours later the worst possible news arrived. The Busch family, Richard Childress Racing, and NASCAR released a joint statement confirming the sudden passing of Kyle Busch. On behalf of the Busch family, everyone at Richard Childress Racing, and all of NASCAR, we are devastated to announce the sudden and tragic passing of Kyle Busch. The statement described him as a once-in-a-generation talent whose passion, intensity, and love for racing changed the sport forever. No cause of death was revealed, making the shock even harder for fans to process. The reaction from the racing world was immediate and emotional. Brad Keselowski wrote, "Absolutely shocked. Very hard to process." Denny Hamlin posted, "We love you, KB." Thinking about his family during this unimaginable time. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. said, "The sport won't be the same without you." For an entire generation of NASCAR fans, Kyle Busch wasn't just another driver. He was the villain, the superstar, the showman, and the competitor who forced everyone around him to become better. Even though the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway would still go ahead as scheduled that weekend, the atmosphere around the garage had completely changed. Drivers who normally focused only on racing suddenly found themselves mourning someone they had battled against for years. To truly understand the magnitude of what NASCAR lost, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Kyle Busch was born in Las Vegas, Nevada, on May 2, 1985. Racing was part of his life almost from birth. Alongside his older brother Kurt Busch, Kyle grew up working on cars and racing from a very young age. Their father, Tom Busch, introduced both brothers to motorsports early, and it quickly became obvious that Kyle possessed extraordinary talent. Even before he was old enough to legally compete at NASCAR's highest levels, people inside racing already knew his potential was special. When Kyle finally entered NASCAR competition, his older brother Kurt famously warned everyone, "If you think I'm good, wait until you see my little brother." That prediction turned out to be completely accurate. Kyle Busch officially arrived in NASCAR's Cup Series in 2005 and immediately won Rookie of the Year honors. But what made him different wasn't just his speed. Plenty of drivers were fast. Kyle Busch was fearless. He drove aggressively. He took risks nobody else would take. He pushed his car harder than almost anyone in the field. And perhaps most importantly, he refused to change his personality to make fans happy. That attitude quickly made him one of the most polarizing figures in NASCAR history. Fans either absolutely loved Kyle Busch or completely hated him. There was almost no middle ground. As the boos grew louder, Kyle embraced them. He leaned into the role of NASCAR's villain and wore the nickname Rowdy proudly. After wins, he would intentionally bow sarcastically to crowds showering him with boos. The negative reactions only seemed to fuel him more. And the more people doubted him, the more races he won. By the time his career ended, the numbers he produced were almost impossible to believe. 234 combined victories across NASCAR's 3 national series. 63 Cup Series wins, 102 Xfinity Series victories, 69 Truck Series wins, 2 NASCAR Cup Series championships, records in multiple categories that may never be broken. No driver in NASCAR history had ever dominated across all 3 series the way Kyle Busch did. Week after week, season after season, he simply kept winning. His Cup Series career originally began with Hendrick Motorsports, where he raced alongside legends like Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon. Even at a young age, his raw talent was impossible to ignore. But Kyle's fiery personality created tension inside the organization. Eventually, Hendrick Motorsports made the difficult decision to release him in 2007 to make room for Dale Earnhardt Jr. For many drivers, that kind of setback could have destroyed a career. For Kyle Busch, it became motivation. In 2008, he joined Joe Gibbs Racing, and that move completely changed NASCAR history. Driving the famous number 18 Toyota, Kyle Busch became one of the most dominant racers the sport had ever seen. Every weekend, regardless of the track type, he entered as a threat to win. Short tracks, superspeedways, road courses, it didn't matter. Kyle Busch could win anywhere. In 2009 alone, he won 9 Xfinity Series races and 7 Truck Series races while competing at the highest level in the Cup Series simultaneously. His versatility behind the wheel became legendary. But the defining chapter of his career came in 2015. During the season-opening race weekend at Daytona, Busch suffered one of the most horrifying crashes of his life. His car slammed violently into an unprotected wall, shattering both of his legs. Doctors believed he would miss most, if not all, of the season. Many wondered if he would ever race at the same level again. But Kyle Busch refused to quit. Months later, he returned to competition far earlier than expected. And somehow, incredibly, he immediately started winning races again. Then he did the impossible. Despite missing a huge portion of the season, Kyle Busch stormed through the playoffs and captured the 2015 NASCAR Cup Series championship. It became one of the greatest comeback stories not only in NASCAR history but in all of sports. That championship changed how many fans viewed him forever. The aggressive villain people once booed relentlessly slowly evolved into one of NASCAR's most respected veterans. Fans who once hated him began appreciating his toughness, determination, and undeniable greatness. Fatherhood also changed him deeply. Kyle openly spoke about how becoming a father to his son Brexton in 2015 gave him a completely different perspective on life. Racing was still important, but suddenly there was something bigger than trophies and championships waiting for him at home. His wife Samantha remained beside him throughout every injury, controversy, and difficult moment of his career. Together, they built a family that Kyle frequently described as the greatest part of his life. His daughter Lennox later completed the family, and fans noticed a softer side of Kyle Busch that rarely existed during his early years in NASCAR. Even longtime rivalries slowly transformed over time. Dale Earnhardt Jr. later revealed that despite years of tension between the two drivers, Kyle personally reached out to repair their relationship. According to Dale Jr., the two had actually planned to race together again in the future before Kyle's sudden passing. Former teammates, rivals, and young drivers across NASCAR all shared similar stories after his death. They described Busch not just as a fierce competitor, but as someone who mentored younger racers and quietly helped people behind the scenes. After leaving Joe Gibbs Racing following the 2022 season, Busch joined Richard Childress Racing and immediately found success again in 2023 with multiple Cup Series victories. But as the years passed, wins became harder to find. The 2024 and 2025 seasons were difficult by Kyle Busch standards. Questions about retirement and his future in NASCAR started growing louder. Then came 2026. Looking back now, many fans believe the warning signs may have already been there. Before the season even started, Busch suffered a serious leg injury while fixing a smoke detector at home. According to reports, a stool collapsed beneath him, causing a deep cut that required emergency treatment and 24 stitches. Most people would have rested. Kyle Busch showed up at Daytona and raced anyway. That was simply who he was. Then came Watkins Glen in May 2026. During the race, Busch reportedly informed his team over the radio that he was feeling unwell and needed medical attention afterward. Despite battling illness symptoms throughout the weekend, he still managed to fight through the pain and finish inside the top 10. At the time, fans praised his toughness. In hindsight, many would later view the situation differently. Then came Dover Motor Speedway on May 15, 2026, the final victory of his career. After climbing out of his truck in victory lane, Busch looked emotional but grateful. During his interview, he delivered words that would soon echo throughout the entire NASCAR world. "You never know when the last one is going to be, he said. So cherish them all. 6 days later he was gone. The tributes that followed were unlike anything NASCAR had seen in years. Jimmie Johnson called him one of the fiercest competitors he had ever raced against. William Byron described Busch as an incredible mentor who helped shape his career. Chase Briscoe called him one of the greatest drivers of all time. Messages poured in from Formula One teams, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, NASCAR legends, and fans from all over the world. For many people, the loss still didn't feel real. Kyle Busch had spent over 2 decades becoming one of the central figures in NASCAR. He wasn't just another champion. He was a personality larger than life itself. He made fans emotional. He made people angry. He made races exciting. And above all else, he made NASCAR impossible to ignore. His legacy now stretches far beyond statistics and trophies. Kyle Busch changed what fans believed was possible across NASCAR's 3 national series. He inspired younger drivers to push harder, race smarter, and never back down from competition. He also transformed himself over time. The young villain fans once booed eventually became a respected veteran, mentor, husband, and father whose impact reached far beyond the racetrack. Today his records still stand. His victories still live in NASCAR history. And Rowdy Nation continues to remember the driver who gave them unforgettable moments for over 20 years. Kyle Busch didn't just win races. He redefined greatness in NASCAR. And for millions of fans around the world, the sport lost far more than a driver on May 21, 2026. It lost a legend.